So thank you very much. Today, as you know, the topic that we'll be covering is, can technology solve the de-risking problem in the money transfer industry? Now, as you know, Remit One, we cater to 120 clients, from around the world. Different clients have different sets of problems. The most prominent problem in the money transfer industry, of course, is this de-risking issue. By de-risking, we mean that banks are not allowing money transfer operators to trade, and so which means that the clients are not able to offer client segregated accounts and so on and so forth. If they cannot trade, if they can't have a bank account, then how are they supposed to, facilitate remittances? So this is obviously strangling the remittance industry. So there are, of course, several broken solutions, near perfect solutions out there. We've been exploring this with our clients for a while. Unfortunately, most of them have their own sets of, set of challenges. But we have recently partnered with Bitspark, which is a cryptocurrency exchange, and I have pleasure in introducing you to Mr. George Harrap, who is the CEO and founder of Bitspark, and he is here with us. He is our guest for today, and he will be assisting me in this demonstration today. George, can you hear us? Are you there?
I'm here, yes. Great to be here.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. So I'm also joined by my colleague Reshma, and also from Bitspark, I also have Michelle. So everyone is here, so we will begin. Okay, so we're going to move over to the first slide. This is the agenda. The topic for today is de-risking solution from Remit One and Spark. Spark is Bitspark. First, we'll do a quick intro on Remit One. Of course, most of you know Remit One, and then we'll do a quick intro on Spark, and then we will discuss how the Remit One and Bitspark solution can help you move money without a remittance bank account. Again, this is all legal. It is all legit, and we will share how this can be done. We, of course, have had to think outside the box to come up with an innovative solution, and we have one here today. So it looks like a full house here in terms of attendees, which is great, which is what we expected. So I don't think I need to tell you, my esteemed audience, the impact de-risking has had on our industry, the remittance industry. A lot of disruptions, of course, to business operations for MTOs worldwide. A large portion of MTOs can no longer access banking services, and banks don't waste any time in sending us this notice period. What's interesting is that approximately 75% of de-risked MTOs, that is MTOs without a bank account, are using alternative channels, whilst 25% are unable to operate. This is a stat from the World Bank. So obviously, you can appreciate this has caused, this causes a significant impact on the remittance industry because it sort of prevents it from growing. And then you're basically, all you're doing is resting the authority, the power in the hands of a select few remittance operators, which is not ideal because that causes monopoly, etc. So what we have here is an innovative solution that addresses cash management and settlement through cryptocurrency. So it's a new concept we are introducing here, and George is an expert on cryptocurrency. He's been there, done that, and he will be talking about this more during the course of this. By the way, please feel free to ask questions along the way. Both George and I agree that it's good to make this session an interactive one. It is not a lecture, it is not a speech, it is just sharing ideas. So please feel free to ask questions along the way. Of course, we have a Q&A session towards the end, but we are happy to take questions along the way. Feel free to just message IM us. So as you can see, there are so many remittance players. There are so many supply chain members in the industry. This image illustrates a complex landscape that we have here. We have acquirers, we have cryptocurrency exchanges now making inroads. We have fintech solution providers, vendors such as Remit One. We have cryptocurrencies such as Bitspark. We have SMS gateways. We have, of course, our the lovely regulators, and of course our lovely banks. We have payout partners, we have ID verification providers, and so on and so forth. It's a complex landscape. The whole purpose of this image is to illustrate, how complex the landscape is and how it can be simplified by working with a few providers who can bring you all these supply chain members together under one umbrella. And that's what RemitOne and Bitspark are intending to do here. So you all know, as most of you probably know, RemitOne is a fintech solutions provider. We've been in the industry since 2007, providing money transfer solutions and compliance solutions now to the remittance industry. Our platforms, money transfer platforms, have been evaluated and assessed by a number of regulators as well. We also offer consulting services, helping our clients, with their bank accounts, with their licenses in the UK, Europe, and now we've expanded our consulting services to the US as well, and also to West Africa. The third stream that we have is the RemitOne ecosystem, which includes integrations with our clients and also with third parties. And these third parties include, banks, money transfer operators, ID verification providers, cryptocurrency exchanges, payment gateways, acquiring banks, etc., etc. This diagram illustrates the various solutions that we provide. So depending on your business model, if you are a money service business, when I say you, I'm referring to you as a money service business. So you might have an agent-based model, which is the traditional Western Union model, where you collect cash in, cash out. We have solutions for that. We have solutions for mobile app-based remittance solutions, same with online portals. And so this is where I'm going to ask my esteemed guest, George, to step in and tell us more about Spark.
Yeah, thanks, Amir. So I can also share the presentation as well, or we can just step through this slide to begin with. But, anyway, yeah, just make me presenter, and I can cover some of these slides. So essentially, Spark is we're a fintech company that's been around for about 4 years. We're based in Hong Kong. I'm calling you now from Hong Kong, and what we do is we're a cryptocurrency platform for money transfer operators. So essentially, our core customers are money transfer businesses. They are sending money around the world. They're usually physical cash money transfer shops, or they can be API providers as well. So it varies, but essentially these are some of our core customers. Can you see my screen? That's the next question.
I can, yes.
Okay, great. So we actually send money around the world, not via existing sort of banking mechanisms and FX brokers and so on. We actually use cryptocurrency, and we've been doing that for 4 years, and we were literally the first in the world to do a cash in, cash out transaction using Bitcoin back in 2014. So we have a bit of experience in this space, and essentially it allows us to be able to send money without banks. Which is a really interesting thing, and a lot of what we've discussed previously about de-risking is that this is a real problem for the industry, and how can we utilize cryptocurrency to at least solve some of those problems around being able to have access to an account or some means of sending money so that you can continue your business. So we connect money transfer providers in our platform. We provide a cash management solution for those money transfer shops. We manage liquidity for converting currencies to and from cryptocurrency. So, let's take Bitcoin for an example. We're the ones that are essentially converting your money into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin to a destination currency. So I can talk a little bit about that, but essentially how the process works is, we are taking one currency, we're converting it to Bitcoin, and then we're selling that Bitcoin for something else. And that's essentially how the process works. So, we manage a lot of that liquidity, but also we're very excited to be part of the pegged digital assets ecosystem which is swiftly growing. So I can talk a little bit about that, but essentially, if you've heard of Bitcoin before, it's this thing which has a market price, a currency in and of itself. That price can fluctuate. But what if you could have to get across is essentially who we are and what we do. So happy to take any questions about that before we move on to the next slide. No, so I guess we can get stuck into this diagram, which is essentially the how it would work with Spark and Remit One. Now, what you have, what everybody's looking at here is on the top we have Remit One, on the bottom we have Spark, and essentially we see ourselves as sort of like a back end sort of facilitation mechanism for moving money. Yeah, so in the top left hand corner you've got a sender. They're visiting a money transfer shop, let's say. That money transfer shop is could be a physical location or it could be an online system. Now that sending MTO is essentially they have money, where we call fiat, and they have some data which they need to transact with as well. So how the workflow happens is essentially you've got these two things which need to get to, on the right hand side, a receiving MTO. Yeah, so you've got to get your money and you've got to get your data to the other side so that the person can go and pick up the money. So how does that actually flow? Well, the data is pretty simple. I mean, everything's within the Remit One system, and Remit One has a vast array of services on that front for sure. And essentially where we come in is sort of the moving of the actual money, the digital value. And there's a couple different options that I've got down here. So we've got, how do you get, value into our system? Yeah. So how do you deposit money with us? Usually with a money transfer provider, you will have an account with them. You will be able to deposit money with them, maybe at their bank, and then you'll initiate a transfer. So usually you have to fund money with your provider, right? And in this case, let's say the provider's Spark. We've got a couple different options. One is through a physical vault. So we have vaults in many cities around the world which can receive cash, fiat payments. So that's without a bank. We can also pick up cash as well. So sending some of our providers will be able to send the G4S vans or whoever it might be to your location to collect the cash. Or we have examples of customers who use our system who just deposit Bitcoin into our system. But one of the questions is, okay, I'm a money transfer shop. I have cash in my counter. How do I get this thing called Bitcoin? How do I get that to you in order to send the money? So we can talk a little bit about that, but I just want you to keep in mind this diagram, as we step through the rest of the presentation. And essentially, once you've been able to deposit money with Spark, then we can convey that to the receiving MTO as well through our system for pickup by the receiver. So as far as the customer is concerned, nothing changes. Yeah, they visit their money transfer provider who they know and trust and deal with. They still get to pay to the recipient at the other end. Maybe it's via a bank transfer, or maybe it's via a cash pickup mechanism. So as far as the customer is concerned, it's the same process. But behind the scenes, the money is not moving through banks, which is a great relief to everybody who's suffering de-risking. So is there any questions on this slide? Or perhaps I can move into the next part. Nope. Okay. I'm just going to check. Okay. So we have a little bit of options that I spoke about as well. Was how do you fund an account with us? So there's a couple of ways. We do have a bank. If you do have a bank, we're happy to accept a deposit, bank to bank. So GBP, USD, Euro, Hong Kong dollar, lots of different things. So that's pretty basic, right? Everybody usually has that. But if you're you're having problems to maintain a bank account, or it's just getting more difficult in your jurisdiction, which is happening everywhere. Certainly here in Hong Kong, it's almost impossible to open a bank account these days. We have customers who've used our system who they have cash in their location and they need to convert that to Bitcoin. So that's how they actually fund an account with us. And there's different ways of which you can do that. There's many ATMs around the world now, which I'll show you in a moment. There's different companies that specialize in doing cash to Bitcoin transactions. So you can physically take your cash, which you might have, and be able to convert that to Bitcoin or some other digital currency. And that's how you can fund an account with us. So there's actually no need for a bank at any step along the way there. Another option, of course, option number 3 is deposit cash at a Bitspark vault as well. So that's a cash pickup to your location, or you can visit it as well in most cities. So that's a bit about the pre-funding. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, great. So I guess the next step as well is, okay, how does this thing actually work, right? Spark is a platform for money transfer providers, and with Remit One as well, we're trying to simplify the process as much as possible. But essentially, the Remit One system will be processing the transactions, and will be accepting deposits in the various currencies and delivering payments at the other end. So the ideal scenario will be that you'll be using your Remit One system, which you may already have, and you don't really have to think about it too much. But in order to fund your account, you'll be funding that through us, and that would be sort of the mechanism that you would be able to fund your account. So as I said, the mechanisms are 3 different types of mechanisms: bank transfer, we can do a cash to Bitcoin, or you can deposit physical cash, or we can come and pick it up as well. And so that's, and then we will handle the delivery of the payment to the other end as well. So a little bit of background as well, just Bitcoin before I go any further. This is what we started with in 2014. Bitcoin is a digital currency. I'm sure you probably would have heard of something about it by now, but it's a digital currency used online, just like any other currency, and it has a value. And that value is determined by whatever people think the value is, just like any free market out there. And currently, the price of about 1 Bitcoin is $6,000, $6,137, and the market cap is over $100 billion. It's continuously growing. People can use it to buy anything from shoes to houses to transfer money to, you can do pretty much anything with it these days. So it really is definitely a currency that is ready for the digital world. But as far as we're not too concerned or care too much about the currency and which one is what and what it does and so on. But the main thing is that, can we use this as a mechanism to transfer value? Yeah, is it effective to transfer value better than a bank and a SWIFT transaction? So that's the main thing. So whatever the value is, it doesn't matter if it's $6,000 or $1 or $10 billion. The fact is that it has some value of which you can convey elsewhere in the world and be able to send and receive money as well. So that's our core focus. Now, I mentioned ATM. I'm using Bitcoin in this example, but there's many other cryptocurrencies which I'll talk about in a moment that we're doing some really cool stuff with BitShares. But ATM installations, and the chart's going vertical. Many of the ATMs around the world are in North America, but there's actually quite a few good companies based in Europe that are also doing very well. So in terms of locations where you can convert cash to digital currencies, the point of this is that it is growing. So that there's in many of the large cities around the world, you're going to be able to find active places which can convert currencies to cash and so on. So yeah, I mean that's pretty self-explanatory there. Now, I think this slide as well focuses a little bit about how it really works for two customers, and also what we're trying to do is convert physical locations, or it can be digital locations as well, like online payment providers. But let's say a physical location in this diagram. We're trying to enable these physical money transfer shops to also be able to participate in this rapid growth of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And the way that you can do that is that there is a lot of demand for people wanting to exchange their cryptocurrencies for cash and their cash for cryptocurrencies. So be able to be places that you can put in cash and receive cash out. So you can buy and sell, essentially. So when you join the Spark network, essentially you become part of that. And you can think of it as like an additional service in that sort of many money transfer operators might sell phone credit or, whatever else might be. It might be food, it might be travel. It could be a lot of things that many of our existing customers sell. So you can sort of think of this as an additional revenue stream. And, as you can see from the previous chart, the demand is certainly growing. So, we essentially want to help convert every sort of location in the network into a cash to crypto, or a location where people can exchange money at. And that's really exciting because the margins on cryptocurrencies are quite high for many of these operators. So, I'm here in Hong Kong, the fees which, many of these providers might charge is say 2 to 6%, over the current market rate. So there is quite a bit of margin there for businesses. Now, we also have an interesting concept, which I'm happy to take questions on, but it's a reward. Think of it like a reward token. So when you use our system, every transaction that you do, you get rewarded. And we made our own coin, essentially, called Zephyr. And the point of that is essentially it functions as a reward. So a percentage of fees which are paid on every transaction, right? Everybody's charging a fee somewhere. So there is some fee, and a percentage of that money goes towards buying back these Zephyr coins. So there's a limited supply, and every transaction, that's more fees which are generated, and a percentage of that money goes into buying back. And so more fees, more transactions means more buybacks. And of course, if we're buying back more of the coins, the price can rise. So the point is that you can think of this like a reward point, like a cashback sort of thing. It's a freebie, right? So it's like if you're doing a transaction and you're paying a fee, then you might as well get rewarded and get some cash back from that transaction. So our coin Zephyr, it has a current market price. You get it when you transfer, and then you can convert it into real money in your account, and you can either use that to send money, or you can cash it out and declare it as profit. And in most cases, for most MTOs, this would work out to be an extra 300, 400 pounds a month for the average size MTO, which is pretty significant, given the different profit margins. So, who's going to say no to an additional revenue stream? So the main thing is that we've structured this coin called Zephyr in order to do that. So that's all built into our system. It just happens in the background. So I think that's sort of the main things I wanted to present. Amir, if you had any other questions, let me know, or if there's anybody out there with questions, happy to answer.
Okay, George, thank you. So, okay, you have a question from one of the audience members? George? You have a question from one of the audience members? Yes, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the very informative session. I have a very quick question. So basically, when customers, we are a money service business as well. So if we are using the cryptocurrency method to transfer the funds, And if let's say we've got a customer A, so do they have to go to a Bitcoin machine, or do they do a bank transfer directly to the wallet, or how does that work that way? I didn't quite understand how that works exactly.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. That's a good question. So, as far as your customer is concerned, they don't need to do anything different. Are you a physical money transfer operator or an online payment provider, or what's the nature of business?
Oh, we are an online-based company.
Okay. Right. So essentially, in order for us to send money, you need to get money to us somehow, right? So you need to fund your account with us. So the question is, how's that going to happen? So how can you get money to us? And let's say you're having problems with de-riskings and banks, then it becomes quite difficult to get money to us. So some of the options available that are on this screen is we have we do have a bank account. Yeah. So if you also have a bank, then you can just send money to our bank. We'll credit your account, and then now you have a balance and you can transact. So that's pretty straightforward. It's what everybody does.
Right. Okay. So technically, we have to have a bank account from our end anyway at the end of the day, isn't it? So the customers pay into that account, and then at the end of the working day, we transfer that money into your account.
It's possible. Or if you do have, like, let's say if you have cash, it's no problem. Like, we have many options to deal with the cash. But if you're an online payment provider, we can connect you with some of our partners, which you can transfer money digitally, like bank to bank, and then they can give you the Bitcoin, and then you can use that to fund your account with us. So essentially, you need to somehow get the value that from your account or from wherever you're holding it in cash, or if it's online, you need to get that to us somehow. So there's online bank transfers. You can deposit it at one of our partners, or you can convert the cash directly with us.
Yeah. So basically, we are transferring that to Bitcoins, isn't it?
Yeah, but as far as you're concerned, if you deposit, let's say, like 1,000 GBP in your Bitspark account, you get 1,000 GBP, and it stays as 1,000 GBP. So the fact that Bitcoin happens in between and doesn't, you're not exposed to that, and that's what we handle.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the other question I had is for the companies who don't have a bank account. So who don't have a bank account whatsoever. So is that another option of doing that, to getting money across?
Well, so we have two examples, right? We have a couple of companies which we've worked with in the UK before, one of whom is a money transfer shop that essentially takes the cash and converts that into Bitcoin. So in that case, they can operate entirely without a bank. So if they have no bank, they can still use our system, but they have cash with it. So they convert that cash into Bitcoin, and then they deposit the Bitcoin with us. Okay, now we have the money and we can send it. So that's how one of the customers works with us. So that could be an option for companies which don't have banks as well. Another option could be if you do have cash, then you can we can do a pickup of that, or you can deposit money at one of our partners, and then they can then forward the money to us. So that's another way that it could work.
Right. Okay. So in the other end, so let's say we are transferring the money to Singapore. So that get transfer in their local currency into their account, or as a bulk payment, if that's
right. So we currently send to about 6 or 7 countries at the moment. Soon to be a couple more before the end of the year. Mainly Southeast Asia and West Africa. And the mechanisms that we offer are like bank transfers or cash pickup or mobile money. So as far as your customer is concerned, like, they will get money into their Nigerian bank account, or like physical cash pickup at their Philippines shop that's, let's say, Cebuana, which is the largest pickup location there. It's 100,000 locations. They'll be able to pick up money there. So so that's how it gets delivered.
Right. Are you covering India and Sri Lanka as well at the moment, or is it yet to come?
So we're currently working on that. We don't cover India and Sri Lanka as of right now, but some of our partners do have access, so we're certainly happy to add them to the network.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much, George.
No worries.
Thank you.
Hi, George. Amir here. So, for the sake of simplicity and just to consolidate the idea, the concept, you know, um, into the minds of my esteemed audience here, can we just create a scenario? I'll describe a scenario, and if you could walk us through the steps involved. So we have an MTO, a typical MTO that trades, let's say, that sends money from UK to Philippines. Okay. Now, the MTO is based in the UK. Okay, they have an agent network. The remitter, who is the person who's actually sending money, goes to one of these agents, gives cash, £100 cash. Then this MTO in the UK collects cash. They're sitting on £50,000 at the end of the day. Now they want to remit this amount to the Philippines. They're going to pay out via Cebuana in the Philippines. What is the easiest way for them to get those funds to you as in to Spark? You have three options. You explain. One is bank transfer. One is Bitcoin. Go to an ATM machine, get it converted to Bitcoin. The third option is the vault. So if you could again just drive home this point, each of these. If you could kindly address each of these three scenarios again for my audience, that'd be appreciated.
Yes. Sure, no problem. I think the easiest option is that if you have cash in your money transfer shop in the UK, you would use our system. Literally, you log on to our website, you press deposit, and you say depositing 50,000 and a vault pickup or something like that. So you'll be able to select that as an option. Now, that will initiate us to go, okay, we come in and pick up cash from your location, and then it's done. Yeah, so as far as you're concerned, the cash will be collected, and then your account with Spark will be funded, and then you can send that to the Philippines. So that would be the easiest option that I would say. Now, there's two other options. One is you can send that money to our bank account in GBP. Now, obviously, if you don't have a bank account, it's a bit difficult, but that is an option there that you can do. And the other option is if you have that cash in your UK shop, you can convert that yourself, without us being involved. You can convert, like some of our other customers have done. You convert it yourself to Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency, of which there are hundreds. So the question is, okay, how do I do that, George? What do I do? Well, like I said, there's a bunch of these ATMs. Where are we? It's the ATM slide. There's a lot of ATMs, so they're all around London. I forget what the stats are for London, but plenty. So you could take the cash there and get the Bitcoin by that mechanism. Or there's different brokers of whom you can deal with, of which they might say, look, we have a Lloyd's account. You can drop off the cash over the counter at a Lloyd's branch, and then as soon as we receive that into our account, we'll credit you with some Bitcoin in Spark. So that could be another option. So that's sort of the three options there. I would say the easiest is that we just come and pick up your cash. But if you want to do it digitally, like send it to our bank, that's fine. Or if you want to convert it yourself to Bitcoin, that is also fine. Does that answer the question on the sender side?
Perfect. Thank you. The other important point here is the Zephyr tokens, the buyback option, which you very kindly explained. And what's happening here is that the MTO, they have an opportunity to get commission kickbacks in a way from Bitspark through the Zephyr tokens that they're buying for every transaction. So what that means is, you said on average, an MTO can make up to anywhere from three to 400 pounds a month in kickbacks, and that is, when I say kickbacks, I'm referring to the 25% of the Spark fees to buy back Zephyr on the market, or positive price pressure, as you say, right? So
yes,
that covers the cost for the MTO to to pay to send those transactions to the destination country. So if you're using G4S or Loomis or what have you, then that cost is actually being reimbursed in some way, which is a very unique and positive offering here to the money transfer market.
Absolutely, and the idea is that you can choose to keep those rewards, those kickbacks in your account, and maybe you decide to, okay, I'm going to use that £300 or £400 or whatever. I'm just going to use it to send a transaction. Yeah, you could do that. You could withdraw it to your account if you have an account, or you can convert it to cash through our various mechanisms as well. Or maybe you just want to keep it as a thing which just accrues in your account, this thing called Zeph, because ultimately the more people which use the system, the more buybacks which happen, which means that there's less Zeph in circulation. Yeah, so simple supply and demand. If there's less in circulation and demand grows, then the price rises. So that 300 or 400 pounds worth of Zeph might be worth 500, 600 or something like that, and so that's an option which you can take. But I dare say most customers will want to realize it, at least to begin with, into GBP or something like that, and they can do with that whatever they want. And if they want to keep a certain amount in this Zeph currency, well, great, that's up to them. And our incentive is essentially, we want, we're signing up customers, the more the merrier, and the more that sign up and transact, the higher the price of Zeph essentially. So that's our incentive as well. So yeah, think of it like a cashback or a kickback or something like that is definitely the best way to do it.
So in the UK, George, in the UK and Europe, so my customers, so my clients, which are MTOs, they've got cash, they want to convert that into Bitcoin. You mentioned you have a network of partners. Bitspark has a network of partners that you work with in the UK and Europe. So my client MTO can go with £50,000 cash to one of your partners, give them cash, and get Bitcoin in return, and then they will add that Bitcoin or those Bitcoins to their account with Bitspark. They're pre-funding.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So there are companies all around the world which specialize in essentially doing, receiving, say, Hong Kong dollars or receiving British pounds and then converting it to Bitcoin. So they're like exchanges. So they're everywhere. And there's many companies. So, we have a network of them, which we can certainly recommend. So, if you wanted to do that, that's absolutely fine. You would deposit money, with them. Maybe it's, like I said, like a Lloyd's bank account, or, if it's a HSBC in Hong Kong or something like that, you could deposit money with them, and then they will convert it to Bitcoin, and then they deliver the Bitcoin to your Spark account. And then that's funding done. Now you've got money in your Spark account, you can go and send it.
Perfect. Any further questions, team? Any questions from our clients, partners? Please feel free to use the IM box and send your comments. Your comments are valuable.
Yeah, if you've got any other further questions, let us know. I mean, I think, one of the really exciting things is that a lot of people they're trying to find a solution for de-risking, yeah, and everybody's trying to figure out something. And usually it means, well, we should ask the regulators to do X, or we should, get the banks to do Y. Well, they're not always going to do that. So, this is something which actually works today. And we have customers using it, and this is an option. Like it does work. So, when we're talking about a solution to de-risking, I always like to emphasize that it's not as if we don't know what the solution is. Like it's certainly using the cryptocurrency is a solution. It does work. So yeah, I think that's a really super exciting thing, because now that it solves a lot of these problems which we're all experiencing all over the world with de-risking and banks in general sort of not being that friendly towards the money transfer sector.
Absolutely. Well said. I fully echo your comments. I have a comment here from one of my clients, George. I'll I'll just read it out here. We wish to be involved with cryptocurrency,
Yep.
yet we are not sure for our African customers. Those central banks are looking for dollars, pounds, and euros. We will receive our transmitter funds via online bank card. Suggestions, please.
Sure. So in the case of Africa, we currently send to Nigeria and Ghana. And how that works, essentially, we deliver Naira to a bank account in Nigeria or a mobile money as well. And in Ghana, it's to a bank account there. So what the recipient gets is the local currency. That currently works. Now, if your recipients want to receive USD in Nigeria, I'm sure that's something of which that is possible. But currently, when you see an exchange rate for somewhere like Nigeria, you'll see a Nigerian Naira rate in the system, and that's what you'll get. So, and that delivery is to the banks. That's how it works. As far as what's actually happening behind the scenes, we're sending Bitcoin to Nigeria, and Bitcoin is being exchanged within Nigeria for the local currency, and then it's being paid out. So money is not entering or leaving the country. Bitcoin is entering or leaving the country, which is something which is not a regulated mechanism for central banks all over the world. So as far as they're concerned, there's no impact on USD reserves or anything entering or exiting the country. So that's how it works as well. And as far as the online bank card, as my knowledge for Nigeria and Ghana is, I think it is possible to receive on a bank card because that would be connected to a bank account. That, correct me if I'm wrong, that might be one of the options. So happy to explore that, but certainly this is how it works already for our customers sending there. And regards to the central bank converts their exchange rate to Naira, the USD Naira rate is completely different to the Bitcoin Naira rate. So the USD Naira rate is obviously something which the central bank manages, but the Bitcoin Naira rate is floating in the market. It's whatever the market determines it to be. And what you'll find is that the Bitcoin Naira rate is very, very competitive. And in many cases, it can be 5% better than the current spot price for the USD NGN rate. And that's simply because often in many markets that we deal with, and this is another really exciting thing, is that certainly in Indonesia is a big one. Nigeria, it happens. Ghana, it happens as well, whereby there's a lot more demand in many sort of developing countries around the world. So that actually drives the price for Bitcoin higher. So that the price in many of these countries is higher. So it means that if you're, in our system, we are buying Bitcoin in, say, the UK, and then we're selling it in Nigeria, and actually, let's say we buy it 100 and then we sell it 105. So you actually make money. There's actually negative fees. Has anybody heard of negative fees? It's a ridiculous concept, but it does happen, and certainly right now today, we did transactions for customers to Indonesia, which was 2% above the market rate. So essentially, you send $100, you get 102 in Indonesia, and that's simply because there is more demand in Indonesia for Bitcoin, which means that the price is higher, and that's been true for last 2-3 years. It could be different regional things, but things are priced differently in different countries all over the world. So I don't think those pricing differences are really going to change anytime soon. But as far as you as a money transfer company, the point is that you just get access to whatever's the best rate on the day, and often with the through Bitcoin as a mechanism to transfer it, that rate is pretty good, if not always the best.
Great. Thank you, George. Any other questions, team?
Yeah, a very quick one. How different are you from BitPesa?
Yeah, so BitPesa has been around about as long as we have, but essentially BitPesa usually do Bitcoin in cash out. They do sort of OTC stuff as well for different partners around, but they mainly focus on Africa. Is the main thing. So we're more global. Is the first one. So we have different countries than they do. The second one is that they don't have a platform for MTOs really. They're more of a liquidity provider, and you sort of call them up for a quote. We actually have a full-featured platform designed for MTOs. So, it's got reports, it's got, where you import customer information, customer searching for details, an API that's all public, everything is free. It's designed for sort of agents that are physical, like, locations, or they're online and they're using an API. So, that BitPace is more sort of, you call them for a rate. So, we're happy to work with BitPacer. We focus on different countries because we just have different customers. But yeah, there's a couple of us around, but usually they're Bitcoin in, cash out rather than cash in, cash out. Whereas we focus on the whole end to end, which is, cash in one end, cash out the other end. And there's also other remittance providers in, say, the Philippines. There's probably the most Bitcoin remittance providers are all there. There's us in Hong Kong, there's BitPacer in Africa, and pretty much all of us have been around since the same amount of time and have been in it the same sort of time in the industry. So yeah, that's usually the differences between us.
Thank you for that. Follow-up question. So do you deliver the money directly to the end customer or the beneficiaries, or you deposit bulk into a bank account where the money is then distributed to the recipients?
We can do both. So essentially in our system, you just tell us, where you want to send the money and the appropriate information for that, and then we'll send it. So we have some customers which do bulk, and we have some customers who do individual. So it's really up to you.
Is that via an API?
You can use our API if you want to, or you can use the website as well. So the idea would be that certainly we want to begin a pilot with Remit One. So you could use the website on day one to transact, and you can have someone sitting there and they just log in and send it, or you can use the API if you want to as well, which also works.
Do you have a bulk upload? Because talking about the website, it means that you have to create individual transactions.
So right now we're working with Remit One on the bulk upload. So I think what would be best is use the existing Remit One software for the bulk upload, and then essentially Remit One send that information to us, and then we go and pay it out.
Noted. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, if there's any other questions, I think we can also share this presentation after, yeah? And send it around.
Thanks, George. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. What we will do now is we will send out this PowerPoint presentation to everybody here on the mailing list. It will have contact details of Remit One and George and Michelle as well. Feel free to respond, and then we will be happy to take the discussions to the next step. If you are interested, we will be happy to have a one-to-one session with you, with yourselves. I hope you found this session very useful, and we look forward to having you again on one of our webinars in a few weeks' time. George, I thank you very much. Very useful session, learning experience for us here at Remit One as well, and I'm sure everybody found it as useful as I have. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you to Michelle. Thank you, everybody.